when you pour sugar into a glass and stir it, it looks chaotic to you, but there's order in that.
There's mathematical equations to describe it.
It's called deterministic chaos.
Is there actual real chaos? Actual
Scott, you're the embodiment of it.
There's math that could describe me, isn't there?
No math needed for that, just red hair.
Did you know there was just recently a red hair festival in Ireland, Dr. Ted? Yeah, every year they do a redhead festival for all the gingers like Dr. Bookatz and I. We are dying breed.
Do you have to show also your pubic hair?
I don't know if that's a passport requirement for this particular. Maybe that's the ticket. It's not your hair; it's actually your pubic hair that's required.
All you need to do is just wear a kilt, right? You don't need to wear anything inside. You just have a codpiece, and then you flash. It's like, see, I'm really ginger. So
classic. Yes. Do the curtains match? No, I'm not going to be able to say that on a podcast, should I?
I would think we're seeing ginger afros everywhere at the moment. I don't know if they're like really popular in Perth or the kids are just being born across. Yeah, it's
afros
really
are in. Afros are in overall. Yeah.
But like cool tight curl ginger afros, I'm obsessed. I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
It's back. That was like 1970s.
Yeah.
Early 70s. Thing.
I've seen my nephew has one, and it takes work. It takes work to create and to maintain an afro like that, is what I hear.
Yeah.
Even a regular afro is very difficult to create and maintain.
I could imagine. As a segue for this particular podcast, creating and maintaining and optimizing health are not easy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Smarter Not Harder podcast, your home for 1 cent solutions to $64,000 questions. We're your host again for the podcast. We have Dr. Ted, Jodi, Alan. We're all here to talk about a topic that I think is very interesting and very important, is that we always want our patients to make lifestyle changes. Sometimes those lifestyle changes are easy. Sometimes they are difficult. Sometimes they make incremental changes in how they are doing overall. And sometimes they create what Dr. Ted likes to describe as bifurcation points, significant shifts in their life. It's like they crossed the road and their life has suddenly changed. And if they had crossed the other way, that everything would have been different. They have all these movies about these things, right? You meet your soulmate because you went across this way and not the other.
Yeah, sliding doors, remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then butterfly effect.
Yes, and everywhere all at once, right? These ideas that all these dimensional bifurcations every time you make a decision. So some of them are more significant than others in that movie, especially if you're looking for something to sit on.
Well, but the many world theory of physics says that, all of those trajectories actually continue. You're just aware of one of them. Well, we never know.
Indeed. Yeah. So today's topic then is to talk about, in either our own life, potentially, or in the clients that we work with, what were some of those major bifurcation points or major changes that patients or our clients were able to make to see significant improvements in their trajectory. And without further ado, I'm going to leave it up to our amazing clinicians here. So who would like to go first? Jodi, do you have some ideas?
I do. Well, I have a couple I can mention because sometimes we think they have to be these major, huge shifts, but they don't have to be. And so they can be very, very simple recommendations, but clients have embodied it. And I think that's the key. It's like, well, most of the time they know that they should be doing these things, or they should be more aware of it in some form of another. So one very simple thing that I find that when clients can actually understand it is drinking water.
That's when I was just writing down for me to talk about. It's a big one.
Well, but I think the key thing here is also front loading the day with water, because a lot of clients will backload accidentally because they've forgotten all day and then be up all night and then not be sleeping well, and obviously that has knock-on effects for the day after, and for ongoing. But
you know what, Jodi, I had a patient, who had a partner who actually set the alarms for her. in in her phone, so that she would actually drink water at preset times. Otherwise, she will forget to drink water, and it actually is a chime for water, because otherwise she would drink Coke, right? So it's like, no, it's a water signal, right? So
yeah. And it could be in different ways of getting that water in as well. You know, like you say, some people will be like, "Oh, does my coffee count?" Well, no, it doesn't. Does my Coke count? No, well, it doesn't. And you have to have good quality water as well. So if you're drinking a lot of unfiltered water, then that's not ideal either. And having the correct mineral content, you know, all these things really count with water, but it's actually, you know, just you need to be drinking water. And so a lot of clients, I had one family member who would only drink a pint of water per week. And that was because he went to the pub and he had a pint of beer and it followed with a pint of water with his fish and chips. And the rest of the time it was Coke. And he was asking me why he was cramping in the calves, and every night he couldn't move his legs because it was so tight. Got him drinking water, and life-changing, never cramped again. So these little things can make huge differences.
Remember, it's 2.7 liters of water for women, 2.9 for men a day. And that actually, many people find that too much, but that actually is enough to get you to an average level, and includes the water from your soups, right? From food. So, you know, it's not really a lot, but remember, guys, that there's also such a thing as, you know, overhydration, right? You can die of too much, of taking too much water, right?
Of course.
And you know, Jodi, I stole your thunder here.
No, it's a good point, because I think the amounts do count, and sometimes people think more is better, but no. Also depends on the climate, because I do have a lot of clients who work in the mines in very, very hot places, and they do need to drink 5 liters of water a day because they're trying to keep up with the sweat. But you then need to massively add minerals back in, otherwise you are not going to have enough. So you flush them out. You flush them out. And the herbal teas are an easy way to get in winter, because winter is a harder place to drink a lot of water because the cues are not there as strong. So I find that herbal teas, if non-caffeinated, are really, really good. The other one, I guess a little bit of a different way. We're always trying to get clients to exercise more. But what I've found in a few of my female clients most specifically is actually reducing down the amount of exercise they do to every sort of second day. They're walking, they're doing other things, but it's actually reduction of exercise, improved their sleep, improved their energy.
Took one of mine again. That was one of mine.
Because they're not resting, right?
On the same page.
They're not resting.
Yeah, because of the cortisol. Yeah, and I think for women more particularly, changing the time of exercise in their day as well works a lot for me when I'm recommending these. And it can be a difference of like weight loss of 5 kilos within a month, because their body is finally resting and feeling.
Yeah, in our circadian module, right? Is we actually have the best times, you know, recommendations for the best times to work out, etc., depending on your chronotype, right? So you know, it's all there. It's discussed, you know, when is probably the best time for you to exercise. So you know, you can go check out that module.
Chronobiology module. Yep.
Chronobiology module. Yeah.
Yeah, good linking, because it's really important. All these things have set timings, and obviously for times of life as well, lifespan, because it will change, you know, depending on the age and the hormones and all of these factors. But very important to know what works for you at the time, and to sort of link in with that, and not always go with what you've been doing consistently. Like change as you need, and adapt as you need. Yeah,
the body is a dynamic system. You know, acupuncturists beat us to the punch. They know that organs have a peak times of function. They know that, you know, they know how to respect, you know, the different times when these organs are functioning. The chronobiology is relatively new, right? Because of the scientific investigation, but older methods of healing actually already recognize this, right? Your water, the timing of exercise and the intensity of the exercise, and remember, guys, that exercise is a new thing. People never exercised before. They basically hunted for their meals, or they gathered for their meals. And I have this joke, actually, that women were the ones who invented weightlifting because they had to carry their child and at the same time have a basket, get all the fruits, right, put it in their head. They were around the camp and they were carrying these heavy loads, whereas the men were the ones actually out there, hunting with a spear set, and they're running, and they were doing aerobics, so they invented aerobics. So it's actually the women who actually invented weightlifting. But anyway, I
I totally agree. An interesting point there is what I've noticed is early years of women, the strength increases as baby gets bigger or babies get bigger. So their strength improves, and then babies are now toddlers or more, and they're not having to lift them as much, and strength actually starts to decline. So at that point, I always recommend my clients to start to have a little bit more weightlifting, heavier shopping, bigger shopping. Or more babies. You can do that. Yeah.
No, or just get a really big dog that's hard for you to control, right?
Just carry Wally around everywhere.
like twice your body weight.
Yeah. But I'll stop there before I take another one of Scott's.
No, it's good. I have a lot of these too. But those are good ones. Those are great, Jodi. Dr. Alan Bookatz, do you have any to share? Any thoughts here?
Yeah. I'd say that probably the first one that comes to mind is like the management around phones. So, we can tell people all day long, hey, put your phone down, put it away before you go to sleep. And I find that is just unacceptable for most people, right? Like we are so yoked to our phones, right? And
speak for yourself.
And I think there's some stats where people like check their phone every 30, 40 seconds or something, right? And it's just ridiculous. So I've in trying to look at the mechanism that is at play, right? It's bright colors stimulating the content, and reinforces this frequent rechecking. What if you make it just less appealing? So putting the phone on grayscale. And so they have now a way for us to be able to actually like rapidly toggle going from color to grayscale. Yeah. And so, at certain times of day when it's important that you start to rev down the phone use in the screen time, that the grayscale comes on. And in my personal life, I've noticed that it's significantly taken down just the interest in looking things. Because, when we think about our, if we go back to evolutionary biology, right, during the daytime when we have lots of blue light, there's vibrancy of colors and imagery, right? We're supposed to be awake and alert. Dopamine gets released and we're supposed to be active. And so we're giving ourselves these subconscious cues to be active at a time that we're actually supposed to be less active and having ramp down. So if we just sort of tap into that ancestral pathway, so we have less, it's just, there's less visual stimuli, so the phone's just less interesting. We're going to put it down and have less of those cues. And then you're not telling people, hey, like, don't use your phone, right? It'll naturally be a consequence of that. So, and I found that if anyone wants to just try that, even for a day, you'll go on your social media, you'll go on your email, and just everything just seems so much less interesting when it's in grayscale. So, and then you plop it back and you see just everything's fast and beautiful and vibrant and moving. And so that's that was just something really
just like your hair,
been helpful. Just like my hair, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you can just get a dopamine hit by nicotine,
True. That's an alternative. The other. Yeah.
I have other molecules that can do that,
Yes, you
do. The other one, just around, because we're talking about light and we're talking about circadian biology, is set a routine around at least one time of day where the sun is crossing the horizon. So for those of us that are willing to wake up early and see the sunrise, make that part of your routine and part of your day. And so if you have a loved one that you are looking for a healthy new habit to start together, then going on that early sunrise walk and seeing the sunrise, or probably for most of us, realistically, it's going to be the sunset, right? And so it's a great way. You're going to naturally want to not be on your phone because the sunset's beautiful and it's relaxing. And if you pair that with a post-evening walk, then you're getting a little bit of postprandial glucose control and getting that movement.
Right. I love it. Those are great ideas. The phone changes. You actually set this up for my phone. I just put it on red. Very easy. Very red. So red's another way to do it. I usually do red at night, but grayscale is another great option. There's a lot of ways to make sure your phone's not digging you at all times. Make sure it's on do not disturb. Make sure none of your phone applications are notifying you of anything unless you absolutely need to. Those kinds of things. Those are great. On my side, Jodi, you took the first two I was thinking about, which was hydration and parasympathetic activation. I think just on that latter point, certainly working out a lot is a big one, but also having people take more breaks during the day. And this is a lot of us that just kind of go, and have a hard time not overscheduling ourselves. If we can build in, for my clients, I've seen it very transformative, just building a couple small breaks in throughout the day. Talk about doing things like movement snacks or looking away from the screen at least for 30 seconds even will work. I mean, just a small amount of time will rest your eyes and give you more of your focus back when you're back on it. So it's a difficult one for people to do because everybody feels like they're too busy. And I definitely fall into this category sometimes as well. But if you can just build in some of this throughout the day, it could be pretty transformative. And once they start feeling more parasympathetic at certain times throughout the day, and they tend to feel better when they're actually they're able to oscillate back and forth better from their autonomic nervous system perspective. And one other thing that I was actually thinking about is I had this one client that absolutely refused. I'm going to work with you, doc. It's going to be great. I'm really excited, but I'm not giving up pizza. I was like, okay. So every week or every 2 weeks, I'm going to have my pizza. I don't care what you say. That's what I'm going to do. And so he was in the food business and like a really cool guy, nice guy, I like him a lot. And I said, look, it's fine. It's your choice. Let's see how you feel once you get started. And then within about 6 months, he's like, doc, I'm feeling great. But every time I have pizza, like I feel like crap for like 5 or 6 days. I'm like, well, now you know the difference between what it feels like to feel good and what happens when you kind of go off and have your pizza. And he wasn't the type of guy that have like 1 or 2 slices of pizza. No, he's a full pie of pizza kind of guy. And so I was like, you could go down a couple slices. He's like, you know what? No, I'm just done. I'm going to stop eating it. And then maybe a month later, he comes back. I'm like, I can't believe how much better I feel. It's amazing. I can't believe that. Like, I could feel so much better not eating pizza. I'm like, yeah, there you go, man. Not a big deal. But not everybody's ready to make that change. Not everybody's ready to say, I'm done with XYZ. But at some point, when you're doing the health optimization framework with clients, it gets to a point where they're feeling so much better. Dr. Ted, you like to say, you get them to the addicted feeling, or getting them addicted to the feeling of health is what you typically say.
Wellness,
yeah, wellness. And that's really what happened with this particular guy, because the longer he would go without pizza, the better he would feel. And then he'd go back to his pizza and then he'd just feel like crap again. And so it's that feeling. And this is something that I think is really interesting. If you're eating like that all the time, you don't necessarily feel any different from day to day because you're always eating that way, right? And then when you start feeling and eating better, eating cleaner, and you eat poorly, you're going to feel it more than if you were eating every day poorly. And we've all had these experiences before, especially when you're younger. I mean, I grew up, very healthy and the son of a chiropractor. And like, if I ever had anything unhealthy when I was a kid, I'd feel terrible because I wasn't used to having anything but like the fake chocolate stuff called carob and like and
I love carob
and things like that. Oh, I couldn't stand it as a kid. I was so angry that I had to eat that stuff. But anyway, but as you get addicted to this feeling, you want that feeling more often, and that's kind of the beneficial side effect of doing what we do. And I guess the third one that I would mention right now, and this is actually recommendation from Dr. Ted in some of my clients, which was the sleep divorce, which is we have a lot of patients that have partners that snore or they snore themselves, and sleeping in a separate bedroom from their partner is transformative to their health. They sleep better, and also to their relationships, which are significantly better as well. I looked at these statistics. It was around almost 1 in 2 couples were sleeping in different bedrooms as this evolves. I mean, I see this in my own, with my own family members. They used to sleep in the bed the same together, but somebody likes to sleep late, somebody likes to sleep early, or somebody snores or whatever, somebody farts a lot, whatever it might be. And so, and as a result of all those things, it's better in a lot of cases. It's better for their autonomic nervous system. It's better for their health. It's better for their, overall well-being. So even doing something like that can go a long way too.
Yeah, I usually like to cite the study where, they did the monitoring of the cortisol levels. The blood was spiked, the cortisol was spiking at each snore of the partner. So you could see these sawtooth, regular sawtooth spikes of cortisol. And then they said, "Oh no, I love sleeping with my husband." It's like, did you see this? This is the reason why you've been feeling so terrible in the mornings.
Yeah, I think, Scott, back to your point about that self-affirming, health habits, I think it's quite incredible when we're talking about really substantial leaps and bounds when people are becoming healthy and learning their bodies. I think it's that is my most noticeable and good feeling from I've done my job, when they come in and start making suggestions before you've even mentioned it, and they say, "Oh look, I think I'm actually just not going to eat that anymore. I think I'm just not going to have the alcohol anymore. I think I don't need that anymore. I feel like I just can do this without it." And it's like, wow, this is incredible. You've just done, like Dr. Ted says, you've got them to be addicted to wellness, and that's all they want to do from then on. And it's such an incredible thing to see right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, it's just really a pity that we were born to this world without any, instruction manual on how to operate this body, and it goes into a cycle, and when you come to understand how how it actually operates, the rest of the world would be thinking differently because they're not actually taught properly, biology. And one of the things that I even thought before was actually starting health education very young, right? Teaching how the body works, etc. That's why I admire books like, Why We Poop, and Why We Fart, all these little things that are natural body processes. But for me, my I have very funny recommendations that were actually funny because they worked, right? The first one, of course, is refers to we are all experts in our health optimization fields, right? And I have clients, a particular one who was not a physician, but was pretending to be one, and my client for 6 years, right? And so we tried all these things, and each time I would give a protocol, I didn't know that he was adjusting the protocol, right, according to what he knew, what he was reading, and so on and so forth. So at the 4th year, he finally gave up and said and confessed to me. He said, Dr. Ted, so he said, "Dr. Ted, I finally understand how it is to work with you." And I said, "How is it to work with me?" Because, we got his HOMeHOPE, or his measure of insulin resistance, down from 6, to 1.8, I think, and so on. And these are not no small changes, right? And we got his GERD under control without proton pump inhibitors and so on. And he said, I should just follow your protocols straight through. And then he showed me the years and years of changes that he made to the protocol. So it's like, what's the use of the data-driven, right? We're data-driven health optimization medicine, and our lifestyle advice actually follows from that data, right? So all my lifestyle advice to him were actually based on what was coming from the nutrient metabolome, the hormone metabolome, and so on. So, and what I didn't know, because he was, well, he was more brilliant than I was, and had more experience with all of these different types of supplements. So I just rather modify these things. But then his son actually challenged me. He said, "Dr. Ted, if you could get my father to sleep in a supine position, because he's been like this forever and ever, then I will really believe you." And I got him basically sleeping in a supine position after 6 months, right? For the GERD, without any proton pump inhibitors, etc. So and those are all lifestyle changes that are data driven, which we always do in health optimization medicine practice. Now for the really, that was a fun one, because it took him 4 years to realize how it was to work with me, right? And then get the results that he wanted. But for me, the things that are very difficult to take advice on are eating. You know that, right? So I ask people, it's like, so you ask a difficult question first, right? So can you take out these food classes for me? It's like, oh no, doctor, I can't change the way I eat or what I eat. It's like, well, okay then. Can you give me this time for you to eat? Can you limit your eating to 12 hours? What a shame. You give yourself permission to eat for 16 hours. That sucks. So I said, okay, can you limit it for 12 hours? My 12 hours, you get mitochondrial biogenesis. So, oh yeah, I can give you that time. And they report back that even just after 2 weeks of doing it, they really, really like the energy that they derive from just a 12-hour fast, or a 12-hour feast, right? And then it's like, okay, you're already feeling better, so why don't we decrease it now to like 10 hours, right, of feeding? And that they can follow. They're actually more willing to give up the time for the discipline, right? They give the time for the discipline rather than on what they eat. And then after that, then it's like, oh, and then they go, oh, what else can I do now? Now you can actually push in, that ice cream that you ate today, that depresses your testosterone for 24 hours, this, and then and some of them are unable to correlate, for example, a migraine that occurs 2 days after eating something. Now they become sensitive to their bodies, right? So that's one. And then from traveling a lot, also, that's where I actually devised a sleep anchoring technique, right? Your day begins at the time that you sleep. And a corollary to that, which I do now, is a meal anchoring technique. So if you're traveling, I maintain at least, one constant meal according to the time zone where I usually am. Right? Unlike before, my time zone's really so awful, right? But at least now, there's some stability. If you're going to be in a particular place after 2 weeks, you can be sure that your system would already have adjusted to the time, right? Unless you basically are just shifting it back and forth too much that the body cannot catch up. And I'm guilty of that. But for example, if I eat dinner here at 7:30 in the evening, right? Because my last swallow is at 8:00 p.m. And my next meal would be at noon on the next day, which is an 8-hour feeding window. So then when I am in Manila, then I would eat breakfast at 7:30 a.m. when we are at the 12-hour time difference, like damn daylight savings time, right? So we're damn standard time actually, because then it becomes 13 hours, right? So so that's sort of like the anchoring. And since my clients are also, a lot of them are jet setters, they actually like the idea of, setting the time that they eat in any new place that they go. And now I'm teaching them the meal anchoring technique, because the gut is really the last thing to straighten out in jet lag. So be kind to that organ. Your gut microbiota is now considered a postnatal organ, right? We have a mojo, the gut immune system. And there we actually teach that, it's about 2 kilos, and it's your 70% are gut bacteria. So these are basic things that that lifestyle wise, I can recommend to my patient. Of course, the one that's most shocking to them is presenting them their toxic their toxin panel, right? And you go, wow, see here, take a look at your mercury level, your lead level, your this level, and they go, okay, now you have my attention. What do I do? But first, you have to find the cause, right? They're so proud to be like pescatarians. No, I eat only fish. Yeah, there. Look at your mercury, right? So, and then they become aware, right, of what they eat. So all the lifestyle advice that we're giving at Health Optimization Medicine, we're data driven in that lifestyle advice. Even, for example, for lack of sleep, you see the inflammation rise. The high sensitivity C-reactive protein also rises, right? So we could see all of these things actually coming together in the report, right? So we don't give lifestyle advice willy nilly, right? Or we're data driven, and our advice is actually based on health markers. I've said this many times. My quarrel with lifestyle medicine is you do not gauge health by disease markers. Just because your disease markers are moving doesn't mean you're healthy. You have to use health markers to determine that you're healthy, right? So my funniest, however, and this will be the last one, is I knew this husband and wife, and they were polishing off a bottle of red wine every night between the two of them. And so, vice is the most difficult thing to take out, right, in our client's lifestyle. So smoking and drinking. And I said, and the wife has always been complaining of her waistline, etc. I said, you want to stop everything? Let's stop all of your hormones and stop all of your nutrients, etc. Let's just try one thing. Stop polishing off a bottle of wine between you and your husband every night, just for 1 month. And then she shows up at my lecture in like a very tight skirt with a very tight waist. And I said, whoa, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm just showing off. I followed your advice. And she apparently lost 4 inches off her waist by just doing that. See, it's that's 4 weeks. You could see, from something like that. So you could see that, and it's a good thing that none of my I only had I only had like a couple of smokers, right, for patients, but when they hear what my method is, it's sort of like painful, make it economically painful for patients. So for those of you who want to quit but don't know how to quit and don't want to use any of this strange stuff, you can try this. You could actually say you consume 1 pack a day, right? So buy 1 pack and then go to the person that you love and trust the most, pull out a stick and cut that stick so it's unsmokable for that day. The next day you do the same thing. The next day you do the same thing for 30 days. The next month, buy a pack again. This time you remove 2 sticks. So it gets more and more and more and more painful for you. But cigarette smoking, for example, is very hard, right? Like alcoholism, these are very, very hard. They actually need professionals, right? You actually need a professional to do this. And this was a technique that I actually used for a patient of mine when I was still essentially teaching pharmacology and toxicology. So, that was like, shit, these things are like drinking and smoking, these things are actually weaned off very, very slowly, right? Especially those with like 10 years of 20 years of drinking and so on. You cannot just do cold turkey and this stuff. Right. In fact, for example, it's much easier to deal with a cocaine addict, right? It's so much easier to do that than with alcohol. And the worst of all, which should be a Schedule 1 drug, is actually refined sugar. That is the true Schedule 1 drug. Alcohol, is refined sugar. So guys, so when you think of lifestyle advice, these are the things that that are the small things that you think they're very small things that the patient or client can do, but actually have a major effect on their lives, like drinking water, limiting their food intake for a few hours, right? More than they're used to. Being able to check whether or not they're actually eating toxins or heavy metal laden food, sleeping on time, eating on time. These are very simple things that have huge effect on lifestyle. And as I said, 80% of your success will be on compliance. And it's not just on compliance of taking the supplements, it's in the compliance with the simple lifestyle changes that are data-driven in health optimization, medicine, and practice. I repeat this, we do not look at illness, medicine, disease markers for improvement. We look at the metabolome for the markers of health. All right?
Thank you, Dr. Ted. Yes. Metabolomics, also the first module of the health optimization and medicine and practice essential certification. That's what I'm trying to say. And so if you guys are interested, take a look at HOMeHOPE.org. That's who sponsors this podcast, the Smarter Harder podcast. This is what we do this for, is to have fun, of course, and then present information that we hope you all find interesting, enlightening in various ways. We've been in, most of us, actually all of us here have been in clinical practice for a long time now. Dr. Ted, much longer than the rest of us, although you can tell from his telomeric or epigenetic ages. But
well, my fangs are now, I just filed them,
No, good.
What did they say? Long in the tooth?
Well, thank you everybody for listening to another episode of the Smarter and Harder podcast, where we give you 1 cent solutions to $64,000 questions. We'll catch you next time on an episode soon, either with us or with some amazing clinicians or other guests that we have here on a regular basis. If you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe below so you never miss an episode. And we'll catch you all next time. See you later.
See ya.